The air inside the memory auction vault shimmered with static charge, alive with unspoken tension. Transparent domes hovered like ghosts above each seat, flickering with faint traces of light, replays of past lives, tastes of joy, pain, betrayal, ecstasy. The domes pulsed with synesthetic color, rhythms synced to emotional spikes in the recorded memories. Bidders sat entranced, pupils dilated, breath shallow. A man wept softly under the glow of a lover's last goodbye. A woman grinned as a childhood Christmas played before her like magic reborn. But all eyes turned as the vault lights dimmed to a burnished blue. Next, the AI auctioneer intoned, its voice neutral but laced with a subtle harmonic designed to heighten anticipation. Lot 439, Sealed Series. Origin: Tier 4 Penitentiary. Contents: Classified. Estimated Emotional Intensity Index: 9.8. Gasps cut through the silence like electric pulses. 9.8. Anything over 9.0 was classified as neurotoxic by standard immersion protocols. Raw memories. Untreated. Unfiltered. Most were sealed by law. Too traumatic, too violent, too real. Yet here it was. On the black market's legal edge, Lot 439 had been unsealed for auction. Someone had pulled strings, bribed officials, scrubbed red tape until it vanished. In row C, Mara Vance raised her auction paddle. 100,000 credits, she said, her voice low but unwavering. Heads turned. Whispers flared like sparks. That's Mara Vance, the academic, historian of neural cultures. She doesn't buy this kind of memory. The AI paused to process, its photonic eyes pulsing as it scanned the room for counterbids. In the back corner, a tall figure shifted in his seat. Pale gloves. No ID badge. No dome above him, no preview. That was against policy, but no one challenged him. The man raised a single gloved hand. 200, he said. His voice was smooth. Empty. Mara felt her heart rate spike. She had a ceiling. A research budget, grants, nothing that could rival a private collector's deep pockets. But she hadn't come here to lose. She stood up. 500,000 credits. The room stilled. Someone inhaled too sharply. The auction's neural dampeners triggered to prevent mass overstimulation. The AI froze mid-motion, its sensors blinking as it recalibrated tension levels in the room. Accepted, it finally said. Going once, going twice. The shadow didn't move. Sold. To Mara Vance. No applause. Just silence. Mara didn't smile. She didn't nod. She simply walked forward and took the data spike, still warm from recent transfer. It pulsed in her palm like a heartbeat. She turned and walked out, her footsteps echoing through the stunned, hushed hall. Outside, she stepped into the neon-lit alley and tucked the spike deep into her coat pocket. Rain slicked the pavement. The city loomed like memory itself, layered, vast, and dangerous. She didn't look back. Her private quarters were soundproof, sealed with biometric locks and AI counter-surveillance. But tonight, it still felt like a cage. The spike sat on her desk beneath a spotlight, cold chrome, tip gleaming with embedded biosynaptic gel. It wasn't just data. It was a soul, trapped in metal. Someone's life, someone's pain, someone's truth compressed, encrypted, waiting to unfold inside another mind. Mara circled it like prey around a predator. Memories weren't videos. They weren't files to browse or skim. They were immersion, full spectrum, real-time neural transference. When you accessed a memory, it accessed you. Smell, touch, thought, instinct, emotion, every trace of the original owner flowed through your nervous system like it was your own. She'd done it before. She had stood in the sunlit fields of a dead poet's youth, wept under the bombing raids of old Berlin, tasted the last breath of a plague nurse who had saved 100 lives before dying unnamed. But this was different. This was the mind of a killer. The spike's surface shimmered as her retinal ID activated it. An interface unfolded in the air, casting silver-blue light across her tired face. A series of red flags blinked one by one. Security lock. Tier 4 clearance override required. Contents: sealed neural stream. Fragmented. Viewer discretion advised. High neural risk. Emotional collapse probability greater than 74%. Do you wish to proceed? Mara didn't hesitate. Her fingers were already moving. She keyed in her clearance code. The spike clicked softly, mechanical, intimate. It had unlocked. She lay back on the neural recliner and reached behind her head, finding the port beneath her hair. The neurojack slid in with a hiss of microservos. Her spine straightened involuntarily. The machine read her vitals. Heartbeat elevated. Cortical readiness unstable. Didn't matter. She was going in. Begin sequence, she whispered. The light around her faded. The room dissolved. Gravity reversed. She fell into someone else. Into him. The first sensation was heat. Not physical, but emotional, rage, molten and ancient, rising from somewhere deep. Mara inhaled sharply, though her lungs weren't hers anymore. They were his. The killer's. His breath came in short, animal bursts. His heartbeat thundered like war drums. Everything around her was dim, jagged. The world was bleeding red on the edges. They stood on a cracked city street under a dark sky, tower blocks looming like tombstones. Snow swirled in the air, but it couldn't cleanse the grime from this forgotten corner of the city. A man knelt in front of them, older, wheezing, clutching his abdomen where blood spilled from a jagged wound. "You don't walk away from people like me," the killer whispered. His voice was cold but trembling like something cracked underneath it. The knife, sleek, black, military issue, gleamed in his hand. It wasn't rage guiding him anymore. It was programming. He drove the blade in again. The man didn't scream. He gasped, gurgled, but his eyes stayed fixed on the killer's face. And then, something strange. He reached out, weak fingers brushing the killer's jacket. "Wait," he croaked. "You don't remember, do you?" The killer froze. "Remember what?" "You're not just a killer. You're something else." A flicker of confusion, then fury. The knife plunged again. The scene twisted. The snow flickered midair. Sound reversed for half a second. Then, glitch. The memory fractured. Mara jolted. The immersion buffer hissed static. The timestamp skipped forward by exactly 12 seconds. She gasped, pulling back into her own body for just a moment, but the connection held. This wasn't a corrupted file. It was edited. Deliberately. Someone had tampered with the memory. And they wanted that part gone. Mara tore the jack from her neck, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. The room spun. Her vision blurred. 3 hours had passed. The killer's name hadn't been spoken. No metadata accompanied the memory. No age. No origin. Just a void. But she had a face now, or at least fragments of one, glimpsed in reflections and half-lit windows. He was young. Male. Scar beneath his left eye. And his eyes, they didn't match. One was deep brown. The other was a washed-out gray. She ran the partial biometric through her historian's database, restricted to off-grid and unarchived subjects. It churned through ancient war files, rebel dossiers, neural imprint logs. Nothing. Until a fragment. A redacted document, stamped with a dead government seal. 42 years old. Title: Project Mirrormind. Subject Integration and Identity Layering Trial. Declassified Tier 10. The footnotes hit her like a hammer. Implanted neural personalities. Military use only. Memory transfer tested on orphan children. Subjects trained as walking repositories of death. Results: unstable. Termination recommended. Program closed. One subject unaccounted for. Mara sat back, skin cold. He wasn't just a killer. He was a vessel. She couldn't sleep. Not after that. The next night, Mara returned to the recliner. This time, the system hesitated as if warning her. She ignored it. Begin sequence. The world unraveled again and rebuilt itself as a laboratory. White walls. Stainless steel floors. A child, no older than 8, sat strapped into a chair, head wired with electrodes, chest rising and falling in tiny, terrified gasps. Her heart shattered. The voices came from behind mirrored glass. He's stable. Begin phase 2. A cold command. Then, agony. The child writhed as volts screamed through his skull. Not enough to kill, just enough to rewrite. Neural maps were burning, rerouting. They weren't just giving him false memories. They were overwriting his soul. Through tears, he called out a name. It wasn't his. It wasn't anyone's. Each shock delivered a new identity. New skills. New languages. New fears. Mara felt the memories pile inside him. Militants, murderers, thieves. Women, men, strangers. He lived deaths that weren't his. Lost loves he'd never met. He screamed, until he didn't. Until something inside him snapped. The boy fell silent. His eyes, both of them now gray, stared ahead, glassy and numb. A woman's voice, soft but triumphant. He's ready. And the child whispered, "What's my name?" Silence. Then, "You don't need one anymore." Mara woke with tears streaming down her cheeks. This wasn't just academic anymore. It wasn't even moral. It was a crime. A buried legacy. She needed answers. She called in a favor from an old friend in cyberforensics, someone she'd saved once from a black market memory trap. He traced the memory spike not to any penitentiary, not to a legal archive, but to a private lab in the free zone, an unregulated sector. By the time she got there, the facility was scorched. Ash-covered floors, burnt servers, every trace of research erased. But not cleanly. In the backup auto-cache, she found a single string of code, partially restored by a fail-safe routine. Mirror test successful. Subject retains 11 identities. Conscious blending detected. Entity control level, 3%. Host dominance deteriorating. She froze. The killer hadn't just seen memories. He had become them. There wasn't just one person inside him. There were 11. And he was losing control. She knew where she had to go next. Her cyberforensics contact pulled footage from an illegal auction months earlier. Unmarked storage devices sold under the table. One featured a man matching her fragmented visuals. Scarred face, mismatched eyes, tall, too still. A hollow expression like no one was home. Cross-referenced against missing persons. Facial morphing tech. Finally, a hit. Kai Arlen. Age, unknown. Officially deceased in a rebel bombing 20 years ago. Except he wasn't. And he was living somewhere in the outer reaches under a false identity. Mara chartered a shuttle. The safe house was nothing more than a metal shack on the edge of a desert cliff, surrounded by nothing but silence. He opened the door before she knocked. "You came," he said. Mara stared. His eyes didn't match. His voice didn't settle, it echoed with too many versions. "I saw you," she said. "In the memories." He smiled faintly. "Which one?" "You were a child. A weapon. They made you forget." Kai stepped aside, letting her in. The room was bare. One chair. One cot. Dozens of memory spikes on the floor, his own fragments, scattered like ghosts. "They didn't just make me forget," he said. "They made me someone else." If you enjoyed this story, leave a like or share with friends, and as always remember to subscribe for more stories.